have a Dr. Judy Staveley, beautifully decorated in PhDs relating to biotechnology and science. She's also a motivational speaker, a sponsored runner, a professor. The list goes on. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of things, so I'll let her introduce herself. Good morning, Judy. How are you?
Good morning, George. Thank you for inviting me. I am great this morning. I think you pretty much covered all my degrees. I do have an extensive background in sciences and biotechnology, nutrition, and therapeutics, but love working out, love, staying healthy, love, promoting wellness and healthness in, social media and promoting, good nutrition and stuff. So happy to be here today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. So if we get right into conversations happening today, we can get into the obesity and childhood obesity. PE classes being taken out of schools, technology kind of taking over that playtime that kids used to have. So what that effect is having. So when it comes to the obesity, childhood obesity rate, what do you think is one of the root causes of that?
I think one of the root causes is nutrition. So nowadays, our nutrition, our foods are filled with all kinds of additives and preservatives that, chemicals that we don't even understand, right? When I go into the grocery markets and I look at the ingredients and even some organic foods, I go and read the labels and I don't even, as a biochemist, sometimes I have to go look some of these chemicals up because I don't
Yeah.
even understand what some of these, chemicals that they're putting in our food.
And that's
Um,
wild to me. That's wild that you have to even look it up. So the average has no idea.
Yeah, it's just constantly evolving, right? All these different chemicals, unless I'm in the lab every day, producing these foods, biochemically, these chemicals are evolving. So I always try to eat, nutritious foods, whole foods, fruits and veggies, and try to get my fruits and veggies in. Buy, if I'm going to eat some meat, buy from the local farmer, my pasteurized eggs and
Yeah.
organic eggs and meats and turkeys and stuff. So I support my local farmers because I know where my food's coming from. But unfortunately, some families, don't have, the funding
Yeah.
or have a farm next to them to kind of buy their whole nutritional foods next to them. And so they have to go to, the grocery store and buy the foods. But I think like over time, our foods have evolved, our cereals. We used to think cereal was healthy, right?
Right.
Of course, they have so much sugar in them.
Yeah. They do a lot. It's like a cheat
And
meal. A
so
bowl of cereal for me is a cheat meal.
it is. And if you understand how many carbs a day that you need,
Yeah.
some people go eat 3 bowls of cereal thinking, oh, this is great, this is healthy. And
Yeah.
even, the Cheerios have a lot of carbs. They'll advertise on their box, great
The
for
heart healthy,
cholesterol,
low
heart
cholesterol
healthy,
one.
low
So isn't there
cholesterol. And
something behind that where it's like as long as it doesn't have something in it, or if they took something out, they could say that it could lower cholesterol or something?
right. And I think it does. I think it's the fiber. It has
Okay.
plenty of fiber. I think Cheerios is okay, but again, you really want your fruits and veggies to give you those fibers, those natural fibers, right? And those natural antioxidants that are from our earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, and try to stay away from processed foods is a big thing. Another thing that I think contributing to child obesity is what we were discussing earlier, and I've discussed this with other coaches, is a lot of schools want to take out PE, physical education. And I do think physical education is a really important course for our kids. And that gives them time to like relax, get out of the classroom. They sit all
Yeah.
day. I loved PE.
Yeah, me too, of course.
But I was a very, energetic child. So sitting in class, I love studying. Like I was a nerd in school, but I needed that little break to just run off some of my energy and kind of just, be with my friends playing whatever soccer or basketball or,
Right.
sports that, that we could do. And, that 1 hour, I just remember, in school, we were pretty athletic during that 1 hour PE, and we'd come back to class. I know we were all sweaty, but like our
Yeah.
PE was towards the end of the day, so they sent us back home all sweaty and stinky.
Yeah, it worked out. It didn't matter back then.
It didn't.
Did
And
it?
so over the years, technology has taken over. So a lot of kids sit on their laptops, play games, eat
Yeah.
junk food. And so now we're seeing an increase in childhood obesity. But there was a study that I actually shared also that, they're starting to see not just glucose contributes to a lot of obesity and other, cardiovascular problems, but also stress.
Yeah.
So, stress is exercise is another, good area to release stress. And, if it's yoga, if it's Pilates, if it's running, if, something simple as walking, get the kids to walk laps and that, you know, kind of calms down the stress hormone that may cause obesity. So we're getting a lot of research out there, right? That is being published, and we need the research. We need the science
Yeah.
to support, what is causing, some of these problems.
Well, what would we do about, you know, I don't want to come after the parents, but what do we do for the parents that say, I get these snacks and these chips and these cereals because that's what the kids want, but they know it's not good for them and they think because they're a kid, it doesn't really matter too much. And I know when you're younger, you can buffer more things out of your system and stuff like that. But what is the balance between, trying to implement healthy foods or just like submitting? Because I don't know, I don't have kids. So, like, what is that balance where it's like, okay, you have to kind of mix it up, or you could actually go all the way healthy with your kids and it work? I don't know. Does it work?
Well, again, I think it's environmental, but also, cultural competency is a big thing. We all come from different cultures and backgrounds, right? So I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican, so we have
Yeah.
Hispanics and Mexicans, we have a lot of cultural foods, right? And so a lot of our cultural foods are, sugary. And I know, like growing up, sometimes I thought, hey, a bagel is healthy. A bagel
Yeah.
has like a million carbs, right? And
Yeah.
but Doritos, like we would put chili on Doritos and or but it's just I think a lot of it healthcare providers need to educate to their patients and be cultural competent and kind of when a patient comes in to get nutritional advice or if they're ill to be empathetic with their culture and make sure that they educate with proper medical interventions and educate them that what are the risks, what are not just the risks of having certain cultural foods that could harm medical interventions also. I used to love using food is thy medicine by Hippocrates, right? A quote that we've learned in school. I think, and a lot of doctors are like, well, food is food and medicine's medicine, which is true, right?
Right.
But you do need to take care of your body. And if you're eating the right foods and exercising, right, you're going to be healthier and you're going to have a stronger immune system, a stronger body, muscles. Muscles are so important for metabolizing sugars, right? So if you're exercising, not just running and walking, you need that too. Your cardiovascular system needs to be worked, a few times a week.
Right.
But muscles, you need to build those muscles to metabolize properly. So I'm not going to get into all the science because, I used to be a professor and I
It's all
used to
right.
teach
Hey, you
others.
can get into as much science as you want. We'll just have to break some of it down.
Right. So, but I think building the muscle is very essential to preventing obesity. And I don't think our culture as Americans, I mean, oh, as America itself,
Yeah.
not just specific cultures, each culture, yes, has their specific, traditions and beliefs and, what they're going to do when they eat. However, at the end of the day, exercising and eating correctly is the bottom line.
It's definitely important. So as you know, I'm a advocate for fasting. And my theory is like, when you can't have the best quality food, maybe fasting and detoxing can help you. Does that make sense to you? Would you
It
recommend
does.
somebody to
So
detox?
I do fast also. I've always fasted. It's just, I think the more you exercise, the easier it gets. But sometimes I get to the point where if I'm marathon training, it's hard for me to fast because my metabolism's on the go and it wants food. So I'll get hungry faster, but I eat throughout the day. I always carry nutritional snacks with me because
Okay.
again, if I'm on the run, going to work or going to speak or doing whatever I'm doing in life, I always have to carry something nutritious on me. So I'll carry a bag of nuts and a fiber bar or something,
Is this
protein
like
bar.
walnuts, almonds, unsalted, salted? We got to let them know.
Yes, I know. This is
This
unsalted,
is
just
unsalted,
clean.
yes.
Yeah, I carry cashews, almonds, and you got to be careful also. You don't want to eat too many nuts because people think, okay, nuts is really great. I'm just going to consume a whole bunch of little Brazilian nuts. You're not supposed to eat more than like three a day if they can be toxic.
Yeah.
So you got to
Oh,
be
I didn't
very
know that.
careful. Yeah, and then just a handful of like pumpkin seeds also is just a handful of pumpkin seeds have so much nutrition. They have zinc. They have, so many minerals and vitamins. I'm not going to go down the entire list,
Yeah,
but
but zinc is also very good for your immune system, right?
right, right.
Okay.
So just a little handful of, you know, we call it pepitas, but
Okay.
pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
And, take those, just like a tablespoon. That's all you need, a tablespoon of pumpkin seeds a day, and they will help you with not just fiber, but zinc and other minerals that
Mm.
will help your body. Again, you don't need to overdo it. People think the more the better. No, that's not always the case, right? Just like
Right.
water. Sometimes water can actually be toxic to us if we have too much. So
So we
anything.
talked about, hold on, I gotta slow you down. I gotta slow you down a little bit. So when we talk about the pumpkin seeds having a handful of those seeds for fiber and zinc, that supports immune system, and fiber is good to help you feel full and to keep
Mhm.
your digestive system regular, right?
Correct, correct. And everybody needs about, what is it, like an average, we'll say just, it's for women, it's like 26 grams, but we're just going to say, aim for the 30 grams of fiber because nobody's going to really meet the goals
Yeah.
of getting 30 grams of fiber, but at least try to make some goals. And when you wake up in the morning, say, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to start tracking my fiber intake and start tracking your nutrients also and your calories and your macros. I know a lot of bodybuilding or athletes like to, track their macros, but for
Yeah.
women that changes, in time. So sometimes, and this is what's important, George, for you is being a coach. It's great that people should hire a coach if they don't want to or a nutritionist, right? So
Yeah.
coaches and nutritionists will guide you in the right direction in getting the proper exercise and the correct macros that you need on a daily basis because as you get older, our bodies changes. So those macros and
Right.
percentages change. So you really, really need to focus on, the proper fats, proteins, and carbs to keep you healthy.
I like that. I like that. And going back to, me being a trainer, it's been almost 10 years. So I've been in different gyms, independent, trying to do this and that. And what I find the hardest client to lose weight is going to be my female clients, my women clients. And that's because their bodies change all the time. Whether they
Correct.
just had kids, they're pregnant, they've had kids in the past, it's menopause. There's so many things that I can't personally, you know, relate to,
Right.
but have to understand. And then it changes the next week and then it changes. And it's tough. And I think that's something that, I have to get a lot of feedback on because I don't know what a woman experiences like when it comes to a man, he doesn't not too much change with a man's body, so I can kind of get him on a routine. But honestly, a woman might have more responsibilities at home and her body's changing. So implementing that healthy schedule realistically is like, what are we going to attack first? Because most women wear a lot of hats and their bodies change a
Mhm.
lot. So where would you come into somebody, a woman trying to be healthy, mid 40s, 50s? Where would you start that person? Is it the diet? Is it just, you know, moving in general? Where
Well,
would you?
first I would tell them to be patient because everything doesn't happen overnight. And most
Yeah.
women want a transformation within like 10 days, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
marketing saying, in 10 days, you can lose 10 pounds and you
Yeah.
don't want to lose weight too fast. You want to do it gradually, right? So the first thing, psychologically, I would tell them, be patient. We're going to take it day by day. Yes. And day one, I would start with nutrition, right?
Right.
That's where, what are you putting in your body? And then also, how many times are you exercising a week? For women, I have to exercise at my age about 5 times a week. You know, I try to aim for six with one day off, but I do
And
different.
when
Go
you
ahead.
say 5 times a week, what is your intensity level like? Because I don't want people to think 5 times a
Right,
week, hard as you can go, and then they can't move. So,
right,
like, what does
right.
that look like?
For a beginner, I highly recommend doing, you know, a program with a coach
Right.
because you need to learn how to go into the gym, work the equipment, and then again learn your intensity and what you should do and what you shouldn't do, right?
Definitely.
So a program's really essential in getting healthy and being in the right direction when you're working out. I would mine for me personally, my 5 days, it's all over the place. So right now I'm kind of training for a marathon, right?
Okay.
But I'm starting off as a beginner, starting off very slow. I took some time off from racing and training this
Right.
past year. So
Okay.
I am like starting very slow, very in the beginning stages. So I take it day by day, but twice a week I do weights, light weights. So I do cross training. And then the other days 2 days a week I'm trying to slow run, do a tempo run. And then and I'm not doing many hits right now, which is high intensity. I'm just kind of just slowly you know, gradually going into a run, aiming for about 2 to 4 miles, depending on my schedule. And then the other 2 days, I'm walking, just just walking, enjoying myself. And all that counts, the
Yeah.
walking, it's all building the endurance slowly.
Yeah.
And then after my workout routines, I do a plant-based protein shake with
Okay.
my fruits and veggies. So I do to rebuild my muscles, right? Everybody should have some protein after they work out. So I would aim for like 30 minutes after you work out to get that protein in for repair. So I do, plant-based,
Okay.
smoothie.
All right. All right. I gotta catch up, right? You know a lot of things there. I gotta keep catching up with you. So you did say at your age you have to work out, right? So what does that mean? Because a lot of people think if I'm not an athlete, like why am I gonna work out? I'm just like an average person. Like I'm not working out for something. So why is it important for a woman to work out throughout their life?
Okay, well, I say me at my age, but everybody should be working out, period. Kids should be in sports, right? Our
Right.
focus was on childhood obesity. So we really want, our kids in sports. We want them to be active and working out and, you know, staying healthy, building that muscle, get them in the gym at a young age, start showing them that, it's fun. Number one, that it's fun to work out. And then I think like in schools, they need to start, incorporating, more healthy diets in the lunchroom, um,
Right.
keeping the PE in, and then in the science classes, also introducing the importance of, plants and how plants are part of our food and stuff. But also, with me working out, at my age, as you asked, I, I'm an older female, so women's bodies change. So I think our culture for women is, I don't know what it is, but we have the skinny thing, right? We always, I don't know, women want to be skinny, and there's a
Yeah. It's
fine
like the
line between.
mainstream media thing. Yeah.
Right. So there's a fine line between being skinny and, and I guess a lot of women are scared to become muscular, which it's not going to happen unless you do steroids.
Yeah. You have to take testosterone and steroids.
Yeah, and you're not going to bulk up like some women think that they're going to bulk up, but you do need to, build that muscle. And if you don't build that muscle, your metabolism's going to decline and you're not going to burn that fat, right? So as you get older, it's just harder to build that muscle. So as you age, right? As you age, you really want to lift weights, build that muscle because those muscles are going to protect your bones. And as women age, you really want to protect those bones and prevent osteoporosis.
And osteoporosis is the weakening of the bones, right? Over time.
Correct, correct.
So hope
And
everybody
building
gets it.
muscles, right? Protects the
Yes,
bones.
and building muscles. So it's very important to build muscle because you have skeletal muscle as well, which is attached to those bones. And building a skeletal muscle will make your bones stronger as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, see, I did some anatomy. I just try to
Yeah.
chime in where I fit in. All right. And then the next thing we talked about, like water. So people get obsessed with like water and protein and stuff when they start working out.
hmm
Um, Too much water can be toxic because it can wash out your cells, right? So you're washing your cells out with water, but some people ask, is alkaline water better? Is lemon water better? Is lime water better? And it has to depend on what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Correct. So if you're trying to fight off, sugars in your diet, I do highly recommend using lemon and lime, something acidic, right?
And then, but how much? How much
Right. It
lemon
doesn't
and
it
lime
doesn't
would you
take that
add?
much. It doesn't
Okay.
take that much. Like, you can put it on your salads. They have like apple cider vinegar, which is really good, right? And that fiber and that apple cider vinegar before you eat something fatty or sugary, it's going to absorb it. So you're not going to get a glucose spike, right? So
See, I
you,
didn't know that. I just learned something there just because so many people have a sweet tooth.
right,
Some people
right.
have that sweet tooth. Okay, so that the lemon helps. So not lemonade,
No, just
actual
the
from
lemon.
lemon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and also, people will ask, does balsamic vinegar help on the salad? Well, a little bit, but if you really want the best, lemon or limes are the best. And so even with fruits, right? So if you're a pre-diabetic individual, you really want to one, get that fiber intake before you eat any fruits that are high in sugars or if you're going to eat the fruits that are high in sugars like watermelon, melon, you want to put, some we put lime. I like lime.
Yeah.
So lime on top of, some fruits that will offset the glucose uptake in the cells.
See, I didn't know that. I always thought that you'd have to pair fruits with some type of protein or something to balance it out. I didn't
You
know you
can do
could put
that too.
lime too.
You can do that too. But like for oatmeal has a lot of, sugars and glucose or high, carbs.
Yeah.
And we do tell, patients to put almonds, right, which is protein to offset that sugar spike. So
Mm,
you're right, you can do that, but
yeah.
another option is doing limes or lemons. So that's
So
why
would you
people
do
put,
that? Would you do
go
that?
ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Would you do
It's
it
okay.
every time that you have fruits? Would you put lime juice on them, or would you just periodically? Or
No, I would do it every time
okay,
because over time, if you're constantly eating sugars, your insulin's going to become resistant. It starts to, it has to work harder. So you really want to start early, right, in your diet. And of course, you don't want to eat processed foods or sugary foods. We try to like eliminate all that stuff. But even if you're trying to eat healthy, right? You're trying to eat healthy and you're trying to get that fiber from a watermelon, in the summer days after you run and stuff. And, it's good for you. It has potassium and it's got a lot of nutrients and fiber. And I love watermelon and it
yeah.
helps, it helps you hydrate. But again, it has sugar. So something as simple as lime on top of the watermelon will offset those carbs. It will give it a slow digestion.
So being that something like watermelon does have a high water content in it, does it help hydrate you? Does fruit help hydrate you as well?
Yes, it does. Well, depending on what type of fruit. And going back to the water, you're right that water can flush out your cells. So too much water can, over a period of time, right, throughout the day, because we have these big Stanley cups now we're advertising stay hydrated,
Yeah. Yeah.
stay
Yep.
hydrated, right? Well, we will be hydrated, but and then you'll start losing electrolytes because you'll start, you know, eliminating them in your body, excreting them. So
So what
it
does that cause? because not everybody knows. So when you lose electrolytes and you have too much water, and then like your sodium goes down, your calcium goes down, your magnesium, that
Right.
complex goes down, and then so what's that effect on the body? Is it
So you
dizziness,
could, right,
nauseous?
you probably could get nauseous. Mainly the first sign is cramps, right? So you're going to get like leg cramps. You'll start losing the magnesium. A lot of Americans don't get enough magnesium, vitamin D, a lot of, minerals and nutrients that are fleshed out in your diet. And a lot of those minerals get flushed out just by drinking water. So it's, good to, if you're drinking a lot of water, just to ensure that you're getting those electrolytes in your body daily. If you're not eating fruits and veggies, well, that's another where you're not going to be getting your electrolytes. But a lot of fruits and veggies do have a lot of electrolytes in them. Like I mentioned, watermelon has potassium,
Yeah,
and so like pumpkin seeds have zinc, magnesium, manganese, and so know your food. It's really essential to know what you're putting in your body. Know your food. Look it up. There's so much technology now that you should be able to Google
yeah,
what nutrients does an avocado have, right? So avocado has omega-3s and it has a lot of fiber. And a lot of people used to think that avocados were a bad thing because they had fat. But matter of fact, the science came back and supported that avocados are, a miracle food. And I love avocados. It's part of my culture. Again, you want to look up to see what nutrients they have to kind of throughout the day, ensuring that your body is getting the proper nutrients, what it needs.
right. Okay, I'm not huge on avocados, but I recommend it for people. I recommend them all the time. So when it comes to omega-3 and omega-6, right? Omega-3 was the healthy one, and omega-6 is unhealthy. Is that right?
um,
Or is there a certain level of
there's
omega-6 and a
a
certain level of omega-3?
Well, you're going to get omega-6s in some of your diets, right? So depending on where you're getting them. But yeah, again, too much of a good thing could be bad, right?
Right.
So, but you do want a little bit of all your omegas because they support brain health. So, but again, your body eliminates what it doesn't need. So you're going to excrete whatever omegas if you're exercising, right? It keeps what it needs, it excretes what it doesn't need. So by exercising, your body knows what it needs and doesn't need and keeps what it needs. So, but if you're not eating properly and you're eating junk food every day, I
Yeah.
always tell people, take your supplements. There's that extra layer of protection. So, I do a daily vitamin for women. I do probiotics. And
Okay.
your probiotics, if you're doing a probiotic, they also need food, right? So that's your good bacteria. So fruits and veggies, your natural foods are prebiotics. So those prebiotics that come from your natural foods are feeding your good bacteria that's in your gut. So your stomach needs that good bacteria, right? And then recently I started incorporating another supplement, Saccharomyces boulardii. I don't take that as much, but if I do go out and eat, I'll take that just as an extra protective layer. But I do that and then I do a vitamin D and K supplement. So that's my daily vitamins that I do take. But and then again, I get my nutrients from my diet. So
Actual food.
from actual food,
Okay.
good food.
Good food, good quality food, right? So I mean, I'll give you an example of, what I do, because I'm pretty extreme, of course. So like if I wake up and I know I'm gonna fast, I'll wake up and I may or may not have water, but I do a dry fast. And then around 1 or 2 o'clock, then I will start to eat, but I'll have like eggs, fruit, berries, yogurt, granola. I'll have a shake and I'll eat all that in the middle of the day. And I don't eat again until dinner time. And that's just worked for me, having that space. But when I feel hungry, I don't panic. I think a lot of people panic when they feel hungry sometimes and they feel like they have to eat every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, have to have a snack. And I think
Mhm.
that's where obesity can kind of creep in on you too, because I think the unhealthy relationship with food is also an issue because you associate it with watching the football game, with watching Netflix, with doing this, with doing
Mhm.
that. There's always food. So what if you separate that emotional attachment to it? I think that also is part of why people can't let go. Like, I'm not giving up bacon. I'm not giving up this. I'm not giving up that. And you're just like,
Hmm.
you're really attached to it. And it's not even just you physically, hurting yourself. Mentally, you're so tied in. I can't break that. So I think fasting helps not just because people think I'm trying to torture them. Like, what I can't eat? I'm trying to break the mental connection, unhealthy relationship with that food. So you're not so attached to it. And I think that's the separation you need if you actually are going to be healthy because food can't rule you. It should fuel you. And like, a lot of people eat all these bad foods and they are sluggish and they get what we call the itis and they sleep after and they think it's funny to be like just laying around, just can't move after, but it should be the opposite. You should be ready to go and like
Hmm.
energized. So Thanksgiving is coming up. So a lot of people are gonna, just indulge heavily and sleep on and stuff
Right.
like that. What do you say
Well,
to those people?
I will say turkey's a good protein. It's got
Yeah.
tryptophan, right? That's what makes us sleepy and tired. For those people that can't sleep, right?
Yeah.
I encourage them to eat turkey because it helps, that tryptophan helps you relax and, go to sleep at night. But I agree with you. I think a lot of people do, associate their food with certain occasions. And also that
Yeah.
comes with the cultural competency, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever we're doing for holidays. The holidays are coming up. And so people think, oh, I can really engorge into all this food and,
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt me. And then throw all, the cookies and sugars and it does over time, it does hurt you. It accumulates and then those cells are working harder and harder to, fight off whatever you're putting in your body, even your liver. There's an increase with fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver that we're seeing, with obesity. And I just think a lot of people are not educated, that eventually these carbs and fats and unnutritional foods can hinder your liver. And it's not a good thing. But, you know, I just say, eat in moderation in Thanksgiving, if you're eating really good throughout the week, or throughout the year, splurging Thanksgiving can be your cheat day. But
Yeah.
again, you don't overdo it,
Yeah.
because your body's going to be in shock. Like, what are you doing to me? And then you're going to be miserable, for the rest of the day.
Yeah. It's definitely tough because it's Thanksgiving comes and then, Christmas is coming and New Year's and there's all these celebrations and people are just like,
Hmm.
I'll get healthy in like February or something.
Right.
It's like to see that people just want to push it off. Like you have no idea like what the inside of your body is looking like. You might feel
Hmm.
okay and all this and that, but your organs are taking a lot of punishment on the
That's
inside.
true. And I don't think they realize what's going in on the inside, until you get sick, right? And then sometimes when you're sick, it's already too late. So, and then you
Yeah.
have to be put on medications and stuff. So kind of keep that in mind.
And then, so I know we touched on medications a little bit. When it comes to your medication, and you talked about medicine being your food, if
And
we
some
ate,
doctors are going to disagree with me on that
I know,
because
I
they're like,
know.
medications, food's food. And I
Yeah,
agree, but I think I look at food as a preventative measure. So,
right. I think that's a great way to explain it. Food is a preventative measure, and the medications treat the symptoms, but not necessarily the root cause 100% of the time, right?
correct.
So if food that we have access to can be medicine and we knew how to pair things properly, then we wouldn't be on as many medications, right?
Right, right. So again, we really want to take control of this obesity epidemic. It's an ongoing and growing thing. If we don't target obesity, we're going to have a real problem in our nation right now. And that's part of our national security, right? Um, I think role models are really important, educating the young generation how to eat properly. If they're getting proper foods in schools, that's where it starts, right? So education at the schools and also at home. And unfortunately, some families are not going to be able to afford certain, foods. But how do we change that? How do we get like, I go to or Whole Foods or a Sprouts, right? And you want to get like nice, organic, clean food. I mean, you can get that at any store in the United States, but you're
Right.
always paying more for the healthy food. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. It should
It
be the
shouldn't.
other way. It should be the other way around, right? Why are we selling a box of cereal? Well, a box of cereal is not that cheap, but but
Yeah.
it's cheaper than some Whole Foods, right?
Yeah. And some
And that's
people
kind of
pick that. People are like, well, it's cheaper for me to just eat like this. And it's just like,
right.
you kind of fell into the trick then because you got to stay on the outside of that store on the perimeter where the
Right.
fresh stuff is, right?
Right. And then the older generations, like Generation X or, and some of the older generations, we grew up with like, the lack of education of, knowing that we grew up with like sandwiches being healthy, hey,
Yeah.
going to Subway because those Subway commercials
Yeah.
would show us, right, that
Yeah.
you could lose weight on a sandwich.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize how much, nitrates or preservatives and all that, meat in the sandwich was
Yeah.
harming us, right? So, but again, our body can repair itself. I don't want to scare anybody.
I gave up lunch because
Yeah.
I learned about it, but they don't
Yeah,
even
I don't
sell
do
it in other
lunch meats either.
countries. Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do any lunch meats. I haven't done them in a very long time. But again, some people think those are healthy, and it's because
so
it's the
why
way they
aren't
grew
they?
up.
Because
Well,
the nitrates are in them, right?
nitrates, a lot of sodium, a lot of sodium. So sodium contributes to high blood pressure, right?
Right.
And so we want to, again, it's all balancing. We do need some sodium for our diets because that's how our cells conduct what they need to conduct, right? Electricity and stuff to make us move. So we need sodium, potassium, amino acids. We need our essential amino acids every day. You need these nutrients to survive. But a lot of people are not thinking in that mindset when they go eat. They're like, oh, I just want to go eat. I'm
Yeah.
hungry.
Right.
I'm not gonna like dissect my food into all the nutrients it has. I
Yeah.
just give me something good. I'm gonna eat that.
Yep. Just anything to fulfill this, right? So a lot of people are hearing now when they go to the doctor, okay, you're pre-diabetic, right? And we talked about, okay, start eating fruits and vegetables. And people come back, oh, there's sugar in fruits. But we talked about putting that lime juice on the fruits so you don't spike that level, right? Next thing, people eat oatmeal and stuff for breakfast a lot. As we said, adding almonds for the protein, and then the carbs is the oatmeal. That balance is for your blood sugar to stay nice and even, right? I'm just recapping.
Right, right. And then the oatmeal also has the fiber.
And
So it
then the
has,
fiber, okay.
right. So oatmeal, we want fiber because it cleans out the bad cholesterol, LDL, right? So also we're seeing high cholesterol, which is associated with obesity, right? Obesity is also associated with disorders of the metabolism, which is resistance of insulin. So fiber helps with all of that.
To when it comes to, I mean, I don't know if everybody will catch it, but when you have insulin resistance in a person, right? Can it get to a point where the cell walls start to they break or they get compromised and then LDL shows up or HDL? I'm just asking. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, okay. So LDL is the cholesterol. So you have HDL, which is your good cholesterol. It goes into your vessels, your arteries, and it goes, cleans it out, right? You want a high HDL. LDL is the bad cholesterol. And as you age, again, hormonally, that can affect your LDL or HDL levels. So you always want to, eat a healthy diet because you never know what your hormones are going to do. For A1C is the glucose test that they check for diabetes. Your A1C will, usually depending on what your doctor thinks, if your doctor thinks that they need to check you, they will check your A1C to see if you're pre-diabetic or where your sugars are at. Again, that can fluctuate daily, right? And I do encourage anybody who's going to do an A1C test to fast the night before. Do a fast because you want some accurate readings. But again, an A1C test will test you over a period of time. So usually like they'll wait a year and retest you again, right? So and it can fluctuate with your exercise too. The more you exercise, the lower it is. And
Right.
if you're exercising, right, and you're eating a lot of sugars, it's going to increase. So if it increases, and then you can become pre-diabetic or, diabetic 2. Diabetic 1 is the genomic, inheritance of diabetes. But diabetes 2 is curable because a lot of that has to do with diet. So I noticed recently that a lot of individuals are wearing a glucose monitor so they can monitor what they're eating or their glucose spikes. I was kind of wondering what are those things on people's arms?
Yeah.
And then I finally learned that, doing medical diagnostics, that there's different types that can go onto the body. There's one for the arm, there's one for the stomach, or you can just do like a glucose meter test and check your daily levels of what you're eating. But I think the individuals who are pre-diabetics and have these ports put into them, they can see and monitor how their blood glucose spikes every time they eat. So it kind of monitors them and then, tells them, hey, you shouldn't be eating that.
Yeah. I think it's definitely important. It happens to my friends and stuff like that. So what would you say to the person that's like, okay, I went to the doctor, my A1C is high, I'm pre-diabetic, whatever. Like what happens if I do nothing about it? Because there's those people that it doesn't bother them that they're pre-diabetic. So what are you going to sacrifice if you don't get healthy and you're pre-diabetic and it turns to type 2 diabetes? What can happen?
Well, a lot of things can happen. I mean, when you have diabetes, a lot of things can happen, right? And I don't want to go into like the gross anatomy effects of, what happens to the body, but a lot of things can definitely happen. Again, you're going to have high blood pressure, you're going to have a lot of other issues. But again, if you're one that is concerned of, getting you're pre-diabetic, you go to the doctor, there's no reason to panic, right? A lot of people are like, oh my God, I went, they
Yeah.
start freaking out. But just know that it is curable, it's reversible, right? Get in the gym, exercise, change your diet, start walking. Even fatty liver is reversible, that's part of, also being diabetic or being obese. That's what is very concerning, but you
And
can get
by
out
fatty
there.
liver, do you mean the fat around the liver? Like, is this visceral
Yes.
fat or is this something totally different?
It's fatty liver. It's visceral fat
Okay.
surrounding the liver.
Okay. So
And
the fat around the liver can
yeah,
cause what? What does that do to the liver? If the liver is fatty liver, that means it doesn't work as efficient, right?
right. So it can't function properly. So, you produce, certain hormones through the liver, it regulates bile, it does a lot of different functions. So it starts to malfunction in the body. And so they diagnose it as non cirrhosis of the liver, right? Or yeah,
Yeah.
non-fatty
The
liver, right?
cirrhosis is the alcohol one, non-cirrhosis.
Right, right. So yeah, same thing. It's kind of similar. So people think, oh, were they drinking a lot? Because heavy, alcohol drinking can lead to cirrhosis of the liver.
Cirrhosis.
So you could have, sorry, cirrhosis of the liver, which is um, non-alcoholic. So
Yeah.
cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah, I didn't know
So
that. So you can get cirrhosis of the liver without drinking alcohol, which is what an alcoholic liver would look like, right? So you can create
right,
this through your diet.
right,
Is it the high sugar that starts to deteriorate the liver, right?
right. So high sugar becomes alcohol. So, without going into all the chemistry,
Yeah,
which
tell
is
them.
without
Yeah,
going into all this chemistry stuff, but
yeah.
yes, it can become sugar. So that's because people are like, well, how does sugar like become, such an important factor for your liver? But sugars do turn into alcohols and can deteriorate the body. So
Mm.
yeah.
And that's sugar in excess, right?
Right. So that's where I say know your science.
Yeah. Definitely have to do your research and you have to listen to your body's feedback. I'll wrap
Right.
you up here in a second. I like listening to your body's feedback more. I feel like people don't do it enough. Um, your body tells you when it hurts, when it aches, when you move wrong, when you're tired, when you when you're feeling off, and people ignore these signs and they get stuck in ruts. Especially with wintertime coming, there's a lot of wintertime, sadness and depression, stuff like that. Because there's no routine for us to kick into, a healthy routine, that when I feel like I'm in a rut or I'm not feeling motivated today, what do I do? I know there's a list of things that I do. I know I'm gonna, okay, have a bowl of fruit. Okay, hop in the shower. Okay, go for a walk. I know there's things that I can do to get my mind out of a rut on those days. So what would you do on days where you don't feel like getting up, going to meetings, going to this, going to that, working out? Like, how do you get yourself out of that? What do you tell yourself? What do you do?
Well, there's affirmations, right?
Yeah.
Always have affirmations in the morning. It's always good to have self-talk. Your mindset is everything. There's going to be days where you don't want to exercise, right? But you got to really push through it. Especially like if you're training for a marathon, right?
Right.
I had a friend who just completed a marathon and she thought she was going to DNF. And she was like, I was at mile 15 and I was ready to quit. I went to the medical tent, sat there, and I was gonna be done. And she goes, but I talked to my husband and he encouraged me. He's like, put one foot in front of the other and just finish the marathon. You trained for it, know your body, listen to your body. And it's amazing what the mind can do, right? And she finished it. She actually finished it, and some other person, another female, finished it with her. And that was encouraging to read that, right?
Yeah.
So again, having a coach, if you're single, having a coach motivate you, and try to like push you and encourage you on the days that you don't want to work out is important, right? But as the winter months do come and start approaching us, right? I like to encourage everybody to get as much sunlight as they can naturally, because sunlight is essential for vitamin D. Vitamin D is a hormone that we metabolize through the sun, which helps us, with our immunity. And the further north you get, the lower vitamin D you're going to get. So again, you have to take supplements for that. But it's essential to get out there because again, not only does it regulate your vitamin D levels, but it also regulates your melatonin levels where, if you're having problems sleeping, you're going to basically, you want to suppress that melatonin. So you want to go outside and get sun and get on a proper sleep program. And
Mm,
working out helps,
yeah.
right? Working out again helps with that.
It always comes back to working out and fasting. It just helps so much. Okay. And then so coming up for you, anything big coming up? Is there anything you want me to like tell people about your books that you have coming up, your speeches? Like, is there anything that we can
I
explore?
just I do have a book that just came out. And was published on Amazon a couple weeks ago. I just came back from San Antonio, Texas, promoting the book. So
Awesome. What's the name
yeah,
of it?
so it's called Securing America's Future, and it's the vital role of STEM education in national defense and innovation. And I kind of mentioned a lot of national security in our talks today.
Yeah.
And because I do think, nutrition, exercise is a very important part of that. And but again, a lot of, highlighting the science behind that and knowing your science for what you put in your food and what you put in your body is really important.
Okay. I'll make sure there's an Amazon link on the bottom of this that has that. So, they can check that out. All right.
And it's an easy read. It's nothing, highly academic
It's
either.
not too.
Yeah, it's 10 chapters, and I really kind of, wrote the book where somebody could like pick it up at the airport and read it on the airplane and get enough information that they need to learn. So,
Awesome. I'll check it out. Well, I wrote it down. All right. Right. And then, so last thing, any events coming up?
I have some events in DC coming up, some speaking engagements, and I'm excited, and some mentoring engagements with middle schoolers with their science and nutrition projects. So I'm excited about that. I visit a couple middle schools and high schools that, I go and educate. And then we just did STEM for Her. So that's really exciting because, again, that's a community-based program that gives out scholarships to high schoolers and encourage them to go into the sciences. And it's a big community event that DC and other scientists and industry and everybody comes together to help these girls
Oh,
stay
that's
engaged
nice.
in
Yeah.
sciences. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're doing a lot. You're all over the place. I like it. Definitely helping the younger population is great. All right. So I'll wrap you up. Hopefully we can, touch base again. I do want to get my feet wet, speaking and stuff like that. So hopefully you
Yes, and
can help me.
of course, yes, and of course, maybe I'll bring you along to come talk about, exercising and stuff at some events that we get engaged in.
Yeah, even if I have like a 5-minute slot, I would take it.
Okay, I'm going to count you on that.